Good evening. Welcome to our MSM Live Agent E-Summit. I am Shivani Sachdeva, Canada Manager for MSM. Today isn't just a regular summit, but it's also an official launch of Acadia University as MSM's newest partner institution. It's a significant day for both of us as Acadia opens its door to more international students to go to Nova Scotia, Canada. Before we get the ball rolling, you will be receiving a message on the chat box regarding the Zoom's feature. Do not worry if your questions are not answered during the webinar. We will be sending an email with all the details. I know everyone is excited to learn more about Acadia's extraordinary reputation, its degrees, its requirements. So let's introduce today's speakers, Mr. Tony Adey, Director of Student Recruitment, and Mr. Liam, Manager of International Recruitment at Acadia. Now handing in the floor to the two speakers.
Great, thank you, Shivani, and good morning and good evening to so many of you joining us on the line here. Today I see that we're quickly approaching 100 participants, and we did this yesterday and we had nearly 300. So on behalf of Liam and I can say that we're certainly very excited to see so many agents around the world interested in learning more about our fantastic university. So as Shivani mentioned, my name is Tony Adey and I'm the Director of Student Recruitment here at Acadia University in beautiful Wolfville, Nova Scotia. Some of you may have met me before. I did work for a previous institution here on the east coast of Canada, but I'm new to Acadia, having moved here to the institution since September. And speaking from personal experience, I can say that it has been an absolute pleasure to move here to the beautiful Annapolis Valley in the province of Nova Scotia, where we have some of the most pleasant weather all year round. We also have on the line here today Mr. Liam Dutton, and Liam is our Manager of International Student Recruitment, fantastic employee who I've come to know for many years, even before joining Acadia. So we are your Acadia Dream Team, and we are ready and excited to work with all of you wherever you may be in the world. I will mention that for those of us joining on the line today, if you're an agent located in India, you'll mostly be working with me throughout the year. And if you are an agent on the line today working through M Squared, it's likely that you'll be mostly dealing with Liam. That's sort of how we've divided up the market. But at any point in time, you can always feel free to reach out to either of us with your questions or concerns. Before I do hand the microphone over to Liam, I just did want to take a few minutes to talk a little bit about COVID-19 and our future students update, just to let all the agents on the line be aware of some of the positive things that we are doing and planning for September. So first of all, the rule of thumb is that we will be offering a fall 2020 semester. At this point in time, given the COVID situation and the news changing day by day, we're not quite sure yet if that will be traditionally delivered in class or if we will be virtual in September or some combination of both. But for those of you that are working with us already and perhaps planning to work with us by September, we will have updates to come on that. With that in mind, we are making several changes to the recruitment and admissions process over the next couple of months to allow for us to recruit and admit students. So from the perspective of the agents that are on the line today, if you have students interested in studying with us at Acadia, we want to let you know that our recruitment efforts remain unaffected. Liam and I are always available online, even 24/7, depending on the time zones. We can make ourselves available to you and your students, so we are available virtually for service at any time. We have also relaxed our admissions processes, and our application processing continues on with normal timelines. So normally if you submit an application to Acadia with the required documents in our application portals, we can normally turn around a conditional offer of admission, which is usually sufficient for applying for the visa within 3 to 5 business days. And with that in mind, we are usually pretty strict about document submission, their authenticity and those sorts of things, but we have relaxed a lot of those rules. Students and agents can now upload documents for students to the portal, which are unconditional in nature. So we do encourage you to reach out to us at any time with questions related to document submission and those sorts of things. And given the fact that most schools around the world are now closed or just starting to reopen, we have relaxed some of the rules around which documents we require to give a conditional offer. So for example, if you're on the line today from a country like India, for example, where students are not able to get final exam grades, we are willing to look at 10th results, 11th results, and any midterm grades or predicted grades in order to give an offer of admission, for example. We are also considering the financial flexibility aspects of fall 2020. So we will have more to report on this, but if we are, developing our curriculum virtually this fall, we're looking at incentives to make that affordable and easy for students to study with us for their first or second term. Of course, we don't know how long COVID will go on, but in a nutshell, we are planning for full steam ahead for fall 2020, whether that be online or in class. And if you're on the line today and you're planning on working with us, please, by all means, submit an application to M Squared Media so that we can make sure we get you on a list and keep you up to date. So that's it from me. I welcome applications from all of you to join us as an agent here at Acadia University. We're so pleased to see well over 100 of you on the line today. And I look forward to learning more from your agencies over the coming weeks. I'll also be here on the line answering some of your questions in the Q&A as the session goes on. And with that in mind, I will now pass it over to our Manager of International Recruitment, the one and only Mr. Liam Dutton.
Thank you very much, Tony. So as Tony mentioned, we are sitting here in the beautiful Annapolis Valley, and I've been fortunate enough to call this home for about 14 years now. So along with working for Acadia for going on 7 years, I was also a student at Acadia University multiple times over. So when I'm speaking with students and families and agents and our partners, I'm able to give a bit of the personal experience and my own story from Acadia, which I find can be very useful in giving a bit of an authentic approach to the university. Not everything's perfect. It would be nice to say that we are flawless in every way. But in terms of perfection, Acadia does come quite close if that's what you're looking for. So by the end of this presentation, hopefully you'll get a good sense of what Acadia is, how we operate, and the support that we can offer your students in many different ways. And like Tony said, if that sounds like something you're able to work with and you have students that would be a good fit, we'd love to see your applications to become our partners in the future. And we look forward to working with you for years to come. So for those of you that aren't familiar, this is what Canada looks like. It's sometimes a little more green, it's sometimes a little more white, but overall here is the country as a whole. We are the second largest country in the world in terms of land mass, and with that you get a lot of diversity and a lot of different climates and regions, geography and topography. Some of you will recognize the city names that are sitting on the screen: Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto, as some of the major areas where you're working or your students are visiting. But we also have this amazing place called the East Coast of Canada, or Atlantic Canada, that quite often gets overlooked. It has some of the lowest cost of living in the country. It has sometimes some of the best weather. Overall, some of the friendliest and nicest people you can imagine. And what that leaves is one of the best places in Canada to study. So Acadia is located in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia is the largest of the Atlantic Canadian provinces. We have the fastest growing economy, and some of the top universities in the country are located here. We are actually the university and post-secondary capital of North America, so we have the highest number of universities and colleges per capita than any other region in North America. Nova Scotia consistently has some of the warmest weather in Canada as well. So overall, you're getting a very, very mild climate compared to what you might see in Ontario or in Western Canada. We are entirely surrounded by the ocean, so 7,500 kilometers of coastline, which regulates our temperature in that sense. We're known for our smaller communities, our more family style of approaching our relationships. So the students are automatically welcomed into communities rather than bigger cities. We have some of the highest tides in the world, some of the best seafood you can imagine, and like I said, some of the friendliest people. So overall, it makes a great study destination as a whole. The capital of our province is called Halifax. Halifax has a population of about 550,000, hovering between 500 and 550,000. It has a booming economy. It's where the international airport is, and thankfully it's just about 45 minutes to an hour down the road from us. As you can see here with the points noted on the map, Halifax with the star, you have the international airport that is located just down the road from there. And then if you look towards the top of the screen, you'll see that nice big A for Acadia, and that is where we're located. So if you're familiar with places like the Greater Toronto area, you'll know that with downtown Toronto and the subsequent suburbs, it's just a string of different cities and towns. And that's exactly what we have as well. If you consider Halifax to be the equivalent of Toronto, we're just down the road, about as far as Burlington would be in terms of distance, but probably even closer depending on traffic. So that's one thing that we don't have to worry about too much. But very accessible, very close. You don't have to go too far to come find us. When you're driving down the road, you'll see this beautiful sign that says exit 10. That's where we are in Wolfville. Our town is probably one of the cutest and quaintest towns that you'll find in Canada. We've been voted as having the top 3 main streets in the country several times over. It is very much a town though. We are not a big city. So if students are looking for the skyscrapers, the big metropolitan feel, Wolfville would not be that fit for them, but if they are interested in the comfort and the safety and the community aspect where they're going to be celebrated as an international student and welcomed, then Wolfville is very much a place where you'd want to be. Quite often our students say it's a smaller town that feels like a bigger city because there's all of the amenities that you would need. It's very bustling. There's lots of things going on in terms of events, social life, festivals, cultural festivals. It's quite a great place to be. I've been very involved and engaged in a lot of things over my years here, and I still find new things to do in Wolfville. And with all of the countries and cities that I travel to in the world, there's still nothing quite like what we have here. So it's very unique in that sense. When I mentioned town, there's about 4,500 full-time residents in Wolfville. So that's not including the students, but a wide variety of different restaurants, coffee shops, cafes, parks and trails, boutiques and shops. Heading down the street, heading down Main Street, connected right to the town itself is the campus. Acadia is the 7th oldest university in Canada. So we have a long history of doing things very, very well. We have a tradition of excellence here at the university. Acadia is actually older than Canada itself. So although Canada is quite a young country, Acadia is still several years older than Canada. So we've been around for a long time. We've been working with students from all over the world for a very long time. And what we can offer them is a very stable and secure education. We've consistently been ranked in the top 5 for undergraduate education. We've consistently been #1 in our province. So there's something that we're doing very well as an institution, although we might not have the same big brand power as those larger universities, McGill, University of Toronto, UBC. We're still very highly ranked respectively in our own category, and there's in some areas we're actually hitting above our weight class and competing with those larger schools. So for a school of 3,500 students, to be able to compete as well as we do on a national scale is something we're quite proud of, and then also competing globally as well. So with a smaller institution, as I mentioned, 3,500 undergraduate students, what that allows us to do is work very closely with those students. So we have much smaller class sizes. We have one-on-one supports. We have the ability for students to get involved in undergraduate research. Being a primarily undergraduate university, we still have to conduct conduct research. Our professors still have to go through with their publications, but we're very fortunate that it's not the master's or the PhD students that are taking those opportunities. It's actually the undergraduate students themselves. And because of that, we have a higher success rate of students getting into postgraduate programs. Our big, beautiful campus is seen here, 250 acres of green space. That works out to be about 2 city blocks. So even if it looks large, comparatively, when you put it side by side with the larger schools, it's not big at all. You don't have to take buses, you don't have to take taxis or public transportation to get between classes. If you look at those brown buildings that are right in the middle, those are the dormitories, that's the students' lodging. And then towards the middle of the campus, we have the academic buildings with the sports facility at the bottom. If you look to the right of the screen where you'll see those apartment buildings, those condo buildings connected, that's the whole way down to Main Street down here. So anywhere on campus or even to get downtown, it takes about 5 minutes walking. So it's very convenient, it's very safe, it's very comfortable. I always say to students, you're not worrying about how you're getting to class, you're worrying about what you're studying in class. So there's less distractions and more time to focus on the important things, which is the academics. Acadia is not trying to be the school that has every program for every student. We don't want multiple pages of program offerings. We want to focus on the programs that we have and do those to the best of our ability. So we have 3 faculties with 30 majors and then 200 degree options between that. Acadia has what's called a liberal arts style of education. Liberal arts meaning not painting and drawing, not fine arts, but flexibility within programs. So if there's a chemistry student that wants to double major in history, if there's a business student that wants to take music, if there's an English student that wants to try geology, that is okay at Acadia. And it's not just okay, it's actually encouraged. So we want students to get a very well-rounded approach to their education. If that means being able to combine both their passion and their career, then we feel like we've done a good job. Within the 3 faculties, arts, science, and professional studies, we'll have a range of different programs. You can see here within the Faculty of Arts, different programs that we offer. Our more popular ones would be economics, psychology, environmental and sustainability studies. Sociology is quite popular as well as politics. Within all of our programs, along with having the double major and minor options, we also have different specific program options as well. Politics being one of those to draw attention to. Within politics, we also have things like international relations, that's an option, and pre-law or legal studies. So if a student's interested in going to law school, they can take our legal studies option within the politics department. That will give them the best chance possible at being successful in their postgraduate application to a law school. So all of our programs have all of these different options to give students a very unique and specialized opportunity. Just highlighting the economics program, you can do it with honors, with business, computer science, mathematics. As of this year, we also just added the Bachelor of Science in economics as well. And we're seeing lots of students taking both arts and science. It just depends on what career options and what electives they want to take on top of that. Within the Faculty of Pure and Applied Science, this is where we see a lot of our students, specifically in areas like biology, chemistry, computer science being one of the big ones for us as well, engineering, math and stats, geology. Pretty much all of these programs are very, very popular. The picture featured here is from the Canadian Engineering Junior Design competition last year. Acadia actually finished second, losing only to Waterloo. So once again, that's something that we're quite proud of. And when I mentioned being able to compete with those much larger schools, these are some of the areas that we're doing it. Acadia has got one of the oldest computer science programs in Eastern Canada, the Jodrey School of Computer Science. There's lots of fantastic things happening within this program, and this is where we see a lot of students coming into from a lot of the regions that you're all representing. areas like mobile computing, ubiquitous computing, game development, software development, data analytics, cloud computing, network security, cybersecurity, virtual reality, nanotechnology. All of these areas are areas of interest for our professors, their publications, the research, and for what students are moving into as well. So there's lots of great opportunities for students to get involved in different ways. I was actually speaking to a student from Kerala yesterday when I was at the grocery store, and he's in computer science program, and I just kind of asked him what areas of interest he had. And for him, he said it was either game development or cybersecurity. And the reason he picked Acadia was because he was able to do both. So he wasn't sure, his father wasn't sure what area was best for him in terms of career. So having the flexibility to figure it out as he goes and take more time to learn about his programs, he said that was the best opportunity for him. And he feels much more comfortable with his decision and with the career options that he has moving forward. So that was a nice little story to hear and made me feel good about what we do. Within professional studies, business and kinesiology are very popular programs. We do offer education, but it is a second bachelor degree. So a student must have a bachelor's degree first before they can pursue our education program. Within the business administration program, we actually had the first named business school in Canada. FC Manning was the first named business school in Canada, so a neat little fact there. Majors that we offer within business: accounting, marketing, finance, entrepreneurship, employment relations, and business technology management. Some interesting things to note: within our accounting program, we are CPA certified. So students that complete our accounting program are well on their way to getting hired by an accounting firm. Most of our accounting students do. I'd say probably 75% are hired by one of the big four, either KPMG, PwC, Deloitte, Grant Thornton. And when they're hired, they're getting paid to do their CPA designation. So they've met the requirements during their degree, and then they'll finish their CPA certification while they're working for those big firms. And then the other one to bring note to is the business technology management program, which is a perfect 50-50 blend of computer science and business administration. So in terms of careers in the job industry, that's a great area for students to get into. We do offer something called the health science option as well. So for those of you that are paying attention, please listen very carefully. Canada does not offer direct entry to any of these programs. So if you have undergraduate students that are interested, or students coming out of high school that are interested in these career fields, they must complete at least 3 years of an undergraduate degree first, typically in sciences. So we understand that a lot of our students are interested in applying to medical school for postgraduate studies, for dentistry, for physiotherapy. We have created this option that they can add on to their program that gives them all of the best courses possible and all of their requirements to get into these program areas. And we have extremely high success rates all across the board for students getting into all of these programs. We actually have a disproportionate number of students getting into medicine compared to our competitors across Canada. It's something that we do very well each year, and having this health science option is part of that reason. General admission guidelines. If you're working with students from either traditional Canadian or American curriculum, we're looking for 5 courses. For other curriculums where a lot of you are going to be working, here are the requirements. IB program around a 26. A-levels, we're looking between a B and a C. CBSE, 60% overall. Other curriculum, 7 out of 10. Other boards would be 50% overall. And then if they're coming from a country where English is not their medium of instruction, then they will require IELTS. If students are coming from a school that is being taught in English for at least 3 years, we do not require language tests. And for those of you that are about to ask, yes, we are currently accepting Duolingo, as well as PTE, TOEFL, IBT. We'll accept any of the major language tests. Something to note, students that do not have math in grade 12, so a lot of the time that's CBSE students, A-level students, if they do not have math, we can accept them directly into the business and the computer science program. We're one of the few schools in Canada that will do that. And we are able to because we offer our own in-house math class that will get them up to par with where they need to be for these programs. So we accept them directly into business, for example, and in their first semester, they take one additional math course to ensure they meet those requirements. So it's very, very straightforward. As Tony mentioned, with everything that's happening with COVID, we are being a little more flexible with our admissions decisions. We understand that a lot of board exams have been canceled. We understand that it's difficult to get those official transcripts. So we will work with you on a case-by-case basis. And then there are additional program-specific guidelines. Essentially, if a student has math and chemistry, they're eligible for all of our programs. There are some things that do require higher levels of math, higher levels of chemistry, but this can all be found on our admissions websites as well as different international criteria. Tuition and fees. Acadia is very fortunate to be the most affordable top 5 school in Canada. So students will not get a higher ranked school for a lower cost. And what this means is that we're trying to make education accessible to all students. We want to attract top quality students, but we know sometimes finances can be a barrier. So your total cost for the year for everything included, lodging, room and board, meals, sports fees, tuition fees, you're looking at about 29 to 30,000 Canadian dollars per year. If students have dual citizenship, if they have Canadian passports, then they pay Canadian tuition fees. But overall, you're looking at about 29 to 30,000 Canadian dollars. So very affordable as a whole. And to make it even more accessible, we do offer a very healthy scholarship program as well. So our minimum scholarship would be $2,000 and our maximum would be 65,000 Canadian dollars. We will look at the students' grades, so their transcripts, their reports, their predicted scores, as well as their extracurriculars. So we understand that students are more than just that piece of paper. We want to see the whole person overall. So we want to see strong students with very good grades, but also being involved in Model UN, Duke of Edinburgh, Sports Day, community service, volunteering, winning awards, competitions. We want to see very well-rounded students because that's what Acadia is more than just students that study. It's students that are getting involved, that are giving back, that are entrepreneurs. We want to see all of that. So the higher their grades, the more things they're involved in, the more money they'll be potentially awarded as they go. In terms of accessibility and support, as I mentioned, we are a smaller school, so we have the ability to work with our students one-on-one. My biggest class, for example, in English was 17 and my smallest was 4. It was impossible for me to struggle in that class of 4 people because my professor knew exactly what I was good at, what I was bad at. I would see them on the weekends. I would even go to their house and write my essays on a Sunday night. That's because it was due on Monday, so I was a little late on that, but having that support from my professors meant a lot. And it also meant that I was able to be successful moving forward as well, because when I'm asking for reference letters, when I'm asking to get involved in research, the professors are much more accessible and open to that versus having classes of 300 or 400, sometimes 800 students, where you're more so just a number. So if students are worried about higher level of learning, about being in a new country, in a new system, we're able to look after them very, very well. And because of that, we have very good retention rates. Another way we support our students is with our co-op program. And this is something that Acadia is very, very proud of. For those of you that don't know, co-op is paid work internships during their studies. So it stands for Cooperative Education. We have the highest ranked co-op program in our category, so within the primarily undergraduate university category, and one of the highest ranked programs in Canada. We actually have the same ranking for co-op as Waterloo, and Waterloo invented co-op, so it's something we're very, very proud of. So that's having a CAFKE Gold certification. As of this year, we've also doubled the number of credits, academic credits that students get for their co-op terms. And that means you're actually able to complete your program within 4 years. So other universities extend the length of students' programs with co-op. For us, because of now granting double academic credit, students are able to graduate and still do their co-ops within 4 years. And then we have a 97% employment rate within 6 months of graduation. So we're very, very proud of this program, and I encourage all students to take it, international or otherwise. The federal government is also interested in supporting our students. And one question I do get quite a lot is, because we're not the same size as Vancouver or Toronto or Montreal, how do students get jobs? Well, Nova Scotia has a booming economy. There's a lot of jobs that are now becoming available. And with an aging population, we need to support our youth because they will be the next big workforce. And as you see here, the federal government just announced last month almost $500 million to bolster youth employment. So all of the students that you're working with, now is the perfect time to come to Nova Scotia because we're investing in them, we're investing in the economy, and the jobs that they're able to get will be endless within all fields. Something that Atlantic Canada is on the map for is also called the AIPP, which is the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. Some of you might be aware of this already, but for those of you that are not, AIPP is essentially a program that was created to fast track immigration opportunities for students and skilled workers. So mainly targeting the students within the area. If a student graduates from an institution in Atlantic Canada and they get a sponsorship from an AIPP employer, and almost all of the co-op employers we work with are AIPP employers, and Nova Scotia actually has the highest number of all of the Atlantic Canadian provinces. If they get a job offer from one of those sponsors, they're eligible to get their PR within 6 months. That is 4 times faster than the national average. So in Canada, it takes about 2 years as a whole to get their PR. In Nova Scotia, they can get it within 6 months. So we understand that the youth and international students as a whole are going to be the ones that are going to be a big piece of our economy. So we want to make it as easy as possible to give them pathways and options to stay here. So great options for our students. And we actually had a citizenship presentation on our campus last month, and the Prime Minister of the country, Justin Trudeau, actually came to campus and surprised everyone to give them their citizenship. So a lot of those were students that had gotten their PR, community members. So it was a fantastic time to be here. As well as celebrating that diversity and giving them opportunities on campus, we're going to give them cultural opportunities off campus as well. So we work with a lot of very well-known universities across the world, very, very good universities across the world, in areas like Asia, Australia, South America, Europe, England, Scotland. Students have the opportunity to spend 1 or 2 semesters at these universities to do student exchange. That allows them to get involved in different research. It allows them to see different countries. Maybe they weren't able to afford tuition in Australia, for example. What the benefits of an exchange program is that they pay their Acadia tuition fees and then have the opportunity to go study at those schools. So sometimes that can be a half or even 60% less than what it would be just paying to go to those universities overall. When students are living on campus, we do have guaranteed residence for them. Acadia will guarantee residence for first year as well as every year afterwards. We have 13 different residence options. between single rooms, double rooms, and 3-bedroom suites. There will be a living environment for all students. So if you do have students that are applying and want to stay on campus, please let us know, because then we can assist them in their options for it and give them good choices in terms of what would be a good fit. Along with residents comes a 7-day unlimited meal plan. So when they're living on campus, they must have a meal plan. We do have an entire vegetarian section in the dining hall. We have fantastic options that are available all day, every day, open to close. Students are able to come in. We were the first school in Canada to have an organic farm on campus as well. So during the growing seasons, we will bring the produce and the fruit fresh into the dining hall for them to have. So as long as they're, if they're happy and they're full and they're not hungry, then they're going to be doing very well in their classes, and that's something that's important for us as well. What's also important is getting involved. As I mentioned, we're looking for those very well-rounded students. There are lots of opportunities for students to be involved in different clubs and societies, different volunteering opportunities, different community engagements. There is something for everyone here. So regardless of what their interests are, it's a great student population. It's a great social life for them on top of their academic life. And the nice thing with being a smaller school is a lot of their friends will be involved in all of these opportunities, a lot of students from other faculties or other programs. So it allows students to build much stronger relationships versus just going to class and then leaving campus. So we find that the relationships that our students have here are much stronger overall, and those relationships and partnerships end up lasting a lifetime. And then finally, we're one of the top sports schools in the country as well. Our athletics programs are absolutely phenomenal. If you do have students that are interested in playing, we have 3 levels of every sport. And even if you just have students that want to watch and get that community feel, there's no better Friday night than being in the hockey rink with the entire community, 3,000, 4,000 people. Same with our football games and hockey games. It's all there for students to get involved in and just feel like they're part of the community and part of the family. So the application process, very, very simple. We only need 3 things: the completed application, the transcripts, and the course list. Working with M2 makes our lives very easy because they're able to facilitate a lot of this application with you. And as Tony mentioned, once we have the completed application, it takes us roughly 3 to 5 business days to process those applications. We are still accepting all applications for September. All programs are still open, and provided students have a high enough average, they'll still be eligible for scholarships as well. The main scholarship deadline has passed, which is March 1st. But we are still awarding just the basic entrance scholarships. So even if you have students applying well into June, they'll still be eligible for scholarships for September. And just some important dates to keep note of there. Our application for September opens in October of every year, so October 1st. I did get a question yesterday about why the application's open for so long. I don't think there's any downside to having an application open for a long time, because it just means that we're able to work with students for longer to make sure that they're aware of who Acadia is and what we have to offer for them. Some ways to stay involved for all of you, just to see what we're up to as an institution. Please follow along with our social media. We update very regularly to see some new things with campus, to highlight alumnus and current students. So please check in there. And now what we'll do is we'll open it up to questions, and hopefully what I've told you has been informative. And if it sounds like there is something that's that relates to you and the students that you're working with, we would love to work with you as a whole. We would love the opportunity to get your support in continuing to increase our international student population and the diversity that we have here. As I mentioned, there's lots of fantastic reasons why students should be coming to Acadia, but also to Nova Scotia as a whole. The opportunities that they get with us might not be the same as what they would see in those larger city centers anymore, because we're more open to allowing more students to come. And Nova Scotia's philosophy is study and stay. We would love them to study and stay here. Frame time for application for January. The January application typically opens in, I would say, within the next week or so. Typically it's around April, so that will open up very soon. Our January intake is not as large as our September intake. That's the main one that we deal with. So we have a smaller time frame, but it will be open very soon. Is there an application fee? Yep, the application fee is 40 Canadian dollars. Depending on what we're doing, if we're doing potentially official agent sessions and workshops, there are times that we might do a special fee waiver to encourage students to come and apply at those events. Tony and I do that in several places around the world. So it really just depends on where we are and what the relationship that we have with you, but it's something that we're open to for sure. Credits of first year can be shifted to some universities of the United States. Absolutely. Acadia has a globally recognized degree. If you look all over the world, you'll find our alumnus. And for example, the president of Cornell University is an Acadia grad. Cornell University, one of the top QS schools in the world. So our degrees go everywhere, our credits transfer everywhere. No PhD. For the most part, we are primarily undergraduate, primarily UG. We do have a small number of master's programs, but Tony and I don't really speak about those. That's more of our grad studies department, but no PhD. Student has to pay all money in one go. No. We ask for students to pay half of their first year tuition prior to their arrival in September. So in the summer, we ask for about 8,000 Canadian dollars. If the student's study permit gets rejected, we offer a full refund for that tuition. And then we'll add, they'll pay their lodging fees before the first day of class, and then we ask for the other half of their fees due in January. Acadia provides credits for programs, yes. So depending on if a student has been at a previous university or college, we will do credit transfer and credit assessment. If it is a school that is, a recognized school, an accredited school, and if they have a relevant degree, then we'll transfer their credits. But if they've done baking at the College of Culinary Treats, we don't recognize that school, we don't have that program, so there's probably no credit transfer there. There's over 1,000 job opportunities on and off campus in the town and the surrounding area. So plenty of job opportunities. Students have no issue finding part-time work. How many years of gap are acceptable? We typically don't want to see more than 5 years of gap. 3 is pretty nice. The issue with gap and study gap is not on our side. We'll take students of any age, but it's getting their study permits. If a student has too long of a gap, then their chances of getting their study permit goes down. What sports are available? Every sport you can think of for the most part, except for rowing. We're on the Bay of Fundy, which has the highest tides in the world. It's very hard to row when the tide is disappearing out from below you, but we have pretty much everything else. We do have field hockey, or you'd call it regular hockey. We do not have netball. I get asked about that one a lot. It's not very popular in Canada. Scholarships available. Acadia does not look at SAT. We do not care about standardized testing whatsoever. It is an American form of assessment. To us, we'd rather see the school grades because that's a more accurate representation of their academic ability. Students can study to pass their SAT. They can study for the ACT. That doesn't give us a true sense of their academic abilities. How much gap? I already answered that. Already answered the gap again. part-time job opportunities. You can work in restaurants, coffee shops, on campus, in the bookstore, safety and security, lifeguarding, the athletics facility. You can work in the clothing store, the student union, lots of opportunities. And our International Student Center helps students find these. Kinesiology program with requirements. For kinesiology, we do require math and chemistry. This account, are they coming from, depending on the curriculum, we do require probably a 65% if it's CBSE, 55% for other boards. With the American curriculum, it would be 75 to an 80%. With GCE, it'd be B and a C. How many years of experience acceptable? We don't require experience for the kinesiology program. It's direct entry based on grades. What is the first year tuition fee for bachelor's? Pushpa, I had a whole chart that showed the tuition, 17,884 Canadian dollars for all programs. Master's is more expensive, but I don't talk about that. Any possibility of changing program first semester? Absolutely. My best friend, when we were studying here, changed 5 times in his first year. 40% of our total student population graduates in a different program than what they start in. That's the flexibility I discussed. We're very intentionally designed to allow students to change programs and to create the degree that's best for them. If a student is not sure which program to choose, we have our entire team, so the enrollment services team, myself, Tony, and our colleague Anna, we work with students one-on-one to help them with these decisions. Every single student gets an academic advisor as well. So while they're studying at Acadia, if they're not sure if their program is right for them, we'll work with them one-on-one. So there's no issue whatsoever. How can we justify Acadia University is better than universities of Ontario and BC? You shouldn't have to justify that it's better. And I think better is a very interesting word, because what makes a school better than other schools? If it's rankings that families are interested in, well, then we're always in the top 5. So obviously a very good school there. If it's class size, then does that make us better than the University of Toronto? Maybe. University of Toronto has 92,000 students. Some of their classes can have 1,000 students in one room. Some of our classes have 15 students in one room. If that's what students are interested in, then does that make us better? It just comes down to what the student's looking for. If a student wants a smaller, more personalized education, where they get to know their professors, where they have higher success rates at getting into graduate programs, then Acadia is a good fit. If they want more of a community feel, then Acadia is a good fit. So it really just depends on what your students are looking for. Our rankings speak for themselves. Our history as a university speaks for itself. Our graduates and where they've gone and what they've done. The future Prime Minister of Canada is hopefully going to be an Acadia graduate. As I mentioned, presidents, actually there's 4 current university presidents in Canada that are Acadia graduates. University of Calgary, for example, McMaster University, those are Acadia graduates. Clearly we did something well. How many days classes are there? The North American school system will typically be the same Monday to Friday in classes, for typically from 8:30 in the morning, and then the last class slot is 7 p.m. at night. If the student has completed 12th from State Board, the overall percentage will be 65%. Not really sure that's a question. If it's in terms of admissions, then yes, 65% is more than okay. Students with low marks in one subject area, accepted or not. It honestly just depends on the subjects. We look at every single application on a case-by-case basis. So if they had a lower subject area in economics, for example, but a high enough overall average, we might be willing to accept them into a program. It just depends on what they've applied to and what they're looking for. Will you have online classes for fall intake if international students are still unable to travel because of the travel restrictions? Would the online classes translate to in-class learning? Yes. So that's a very, very good question. It's very difficult to tell what's going to happen right now because of how uncertain things are. But either way, as Tony highlighted at the start, we will have a semester regardless, whether that's on campus or whether that is online. We'll figure that out as we go. We're planning for both, which is good. But we will hopefully be able to work with that as we go. Next up. I just want to bring attention to this one. Just want to share, I'm living in Nova Scotia and it is a much better place to live here, and people are moving out from other provinces to get here. Getting PR is easy and people are more friendly. So there you have it. There's a real life review of Nova Scotia. Tony moved here, I moved here, some agents have moved here, families have moved here. It is a wonderful place to be. And that could go into the reason of why it's better here. Students aren't just studying. It's not just the school that's important. It's their lifestyle that's important as well. And what opportunities do they have after they graduate? So I think that goes into it as well. You're selling not just Acadia, but the Acadia experience. And that's part of our location. That's a huge part of our location.
Yeah, Liam, if I could jump in for a second, I'd mention also for those people that have students that are worried about the weather, I think it's super important to jump on the fact that Nova Scotia's got some of the best weather in the country. Speaking from experience, I'm from a place that's about an hour away from Nova Scotia by airplane, but it's a little bit further north. And where my hometown is, it's still very much winter there right now. And I've been able to hop on my bike and go cycling already for about 2 or 3 weeks now, whereas in other parts of Canada, you wouldn't think about cycling until probably the middle of May. So Nova Scotia really is this awesome microcosm of weather that I think a lot of students would be super pleased with.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of the reason I live here is because we don't get very big winters. You could probably count on one hand the number of times it snowed here. And that was something that Tony was very surprised with is just the lack of snow. So we don't get the same -30 temperatures in Ontario. We don't get the same harsh winds coming across the prairies in Western Canada. So it's a whole experience, as I mentioned. How many students are from India at university as of now? How many male and female, if you have any figures? So in terms of Indian students, we're just starting to really ramp up our Indian recruitment. We are a diverse university in that sense. Our main population of students, or our biggest percentage, actually comes from the Caribbean. So the Bahamas is one of our biggest countries. And then the Middle East would be in there, China and India. India would probably be our 4th highest passport holders. Yeah, 3rd or 4th highest. So it's not like other universities where there's just masses of Indian students and masses of Chinese students. We are very intentionally diverse in that sense. So each year, if we're hopefully looking to take in, maybe, I don't even know if there's a limit on what we're looking for right now because we have so much capacity, but we do have Indian students and there are Indian families settled here and we are looking to increase that. So Mitesh, if you can help with that, that'd be great. In terms of male and female, we are 67% female. So Acadia is 67% female. Canada overall, I think, is in a higher 60% for male to female ratio. And that's because more females are going to school, I think. Yeah. WAS, yes, it is required. Any course with internship options. 80% of our programs, actually 100% of our programs have internships, 80% of our programs have co-op. Students from NIOS, yes. Acceptable for offer letter or acceptable for admission purpose only. Oh, sorry. Students with low marks in one subject area. It is acceptable for both. An offer letter and admission is the same. which program is most popular among Indian students? That's a very good question. And I think you probably know the answer to that. Computer science is one of the biggest ones. Economics and business would be the big ones. And it's the same for every school for the most part. Business, computer science, economics. But then we do have a lot of students that are applying into, actually psychology is growing for Indian students, kinesiology as well. Yeah, lots of options. It really just depends on what the students are good at. Acadia University is a public university. There are only 2 private universities in Canada, and the rest of us are public. So Canada has one of the best education systems in the world. As a country, we spend more on education than any other OECD country. So it is absolutely a top priority for us. We actually have the highest number of, the highest adult population percentage with a bachelor's degree or higher. So part of that is funding our school systems. That's why our tuition is relatively cheaper compared to other countries. Than Australian universities, it's cheaper than the United States, of course, and it's because we are all public universities. Does Acadia have on-campus hiring for students? Yes, we do, absolutely. If you actually look at, we did just highlighted a very nice story with our international center. So our international student coordinator, Alexis McKay, she's an international student, was an international student. She worked for the International Center when she was a student here, and she just graduated this year and got hired on full time. So we love supporting our students no matter where they're from. And there's lots of opportunities for them to receive those job opportunities and then for full-time employment afterwards. Percentage of African students at Acadia. I would say of our incoming cohort, it's hard to say. If we're talking about students that are coming directly from Africa, I would say it'd be about 20%. 15 to 20% of our incoming students. Our major regions in Africa would be Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda, students from Rwanda, Kenya. Yeah. Do you have law and bio programs? We have bio and we have pre-law, so legal studies. With 12th board exams still postponed. Yes, and unfortunately there is uncertainty with student visas, but we do work closely with the IRCC, and they are monitoring the situation as closely as possible. The first step is to get the offer letters, so definitely send us applications so we can review them and provide offer letters, and then hopefully students will be able to apply through things like SDS or other application processes. And we're crossing our fingers they'll get their visa for September. If students don't get their visa for September, we'll automatically defer them to January. That's a policy that we have in place anyway. Do you reserve seats for who are unable to give exam? So if students are unable to write their exams, we're actually still doing offers of admission with whatever grades they have. So I know that a lot of the board exams were canceled. So a lot of those CBSE students got full offers of admission, knowing that those exams are canceled. So we're going to work with you as closely as possible to ensure that your students are looked after. Do you have future plans to start classroom or extension center for a few courses in Halifax, at Halifax or in other provinces? So what we'll be doing is hopefully offering, we do offer courses online. We do have a selection of courses that will be available, but what will depend, or Mita, are you talking about have an extension of our campus in terms of working with those other institutions to offer Acadia courses, or you're just talking about having access to their education online? Was that a yes to online or a yes to extending or having a dual campus? I'll answer either way. Acadia, this is our campus. This is our home. This is where we've been for almost 200 years. So we do not have any plans to extend our campus or to offer or to have overseas programs. We feel that that would make us less of what we are as an institution. Yeah, so if students are studying, they have to study at Acadia on campus here in Nova Scotia in Wolfville. That's just part of the experience and part of who we are. And we're not big enough as well to have more campuses or classrooms overseas. And I don't think we'd want to be either. Okay.
Tony and Liam, I think we have answered most of the question and it's deep rolling in. Thank you for the deep presentation and answering the question and answers. Would you like to say anything before we end the session to the attendees? And
yeah, I'd just like to mention to thank everyone for joining us today, and also to thank Liam for the wonderful presentation. Good job, Liam. And, we are so excited to grow Acadia's international profile in all of the countries where you're all joining us from today. Liam and I are global travelers, so we're feeling a little bit grounded now with the COVID-19 situation, but I can tell you that if you're interested in working with us, please by all means follow up with M Squared Media to kickstart your agency application to work with us. And at some point, hopefully in the coming weeks and months, hopefully sooner than later, myself or Liam will be happy enough to visit you in your offices in your home countries. Speaking from experience, Liam and I have traveled all around the world, every continent almost, except for Antarctica probably. And we're super excited to work with all of you and grow Acadia's profile overseas. And I'll leave it at that and pass it over to Liam. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly what Tony just said. We love working with you, and we love being able to spread the Acadia word around the world, and to see the opportunities that these students have to come to an institution like ours that will give them the best chance possible moving forward. I know that all of you work very hard with your students to give them those opportunities, and if there's anything that we can do on our side for Acadia University, we will absolutely go above and beyond to ensure that this relationship and this partnership is a two-way thing for all of us. And I look forward to meeting you all in person. I look forward to seeing your wonderful students here on campus. And I hope you're all staying as happy and safe as possible. And please do follow up with M Squared, because we would love to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony and Liam. Thank you to everyone who has attended our MSM Live Summit and launch event. We appreciate your interest in Acadia University. We will be sending all the important details after this session. Thank you all for attending. Hope to see you again in our next Adey Summit. Stay safe, take care. Thank you.